Tron Legacy on 4K Blu-ray. We are going to do a review and go over some fun bits and also a giveaway of this extra copy that I have. So stay tuned for how to enter the giveaway. It is not for the faint of heart and does require a little bit of effort on your end, but I will mail the movie to you wherever you are in the world. All right, so one question pretty much everybody is asking about this movie is, how is the 4K? How does it look? Is it an upgrade over the Blu-ray? How is the sound? Because the DTS sound on the last one was really good. So let's answer those questions. But mostly we're going to talk about the movie and have fun talking about the movie. And here is a clip out of context for you to just see how cool. It's just to see how cool it looks, like the glowing and the fighting, and how they took such a fun idea from Tron 1982 and just way ramped up the special effects and the choreography. Maybe this is blasphemous, maybe this will upset people, but it's kind of like the Star Wars prequels where the originals were so good and very analog, and then the prequels came in and added like fight choreography with the lightsabers. It's kind of like this, honestly. So this sequel has all the same charm of the original, but just like way ramps up the cool fight scenes and cool special effects. The flow of the actual movie actually is extremely similar to the original. A lot of same story beats. Right, man. One thing I noticed right away with the 4K versus the Blu-ray is just how bright and sharp all of the glowing bits are. Like especially in the grid, but also like in the city with the pinpoints. And weirdly, the motion is better in the 4K. So I have the exact same pro-calibrated settings on my TV, same settings on the Panasonic UB820 player, but the motion just looks better. So I'll just play that exact same part on the Blu-ray now, and you can see the difference. Here's the Blu-ray.
You got in.
That's right, man. I got in.
The 4K you'll also notice is darker. But obviously filming this on my phone is not a scientific test. This is just like a quick sanity check so you can see it in motion, but you really have to see them side by side correctly. There's a lot of other people that do that very well. I think this movie is such a good legacy sequel in that it takes old characters from the old movie, new characters, mixes them together, honors the old characters in a very satisfying way, and in a very good, like, evolved way. Like you have Alan from the first one, who is actually Tron when they go into the grid world. And then you have Flynn himself, who has a son and has disappeared, right? And so I just think that is such a good recipe for a legacy sequel. And I was like, man, Joseph Kosinski, let's talk about him real quick, the director. So he is like a custom for me made director. He also directed Top Gun Maverick, F1, Only the Brave, Oblivion. So he, for me at least, has an awesome track record, and this movie is absolutely no exception. And there's so many cool, like I said, just little cameos, like tiny little visual things. Like there's the black hole in the background. It's like a classic Disney sci-fi movie. And there's so many callbacks, and they're very subtle. They're not like in your face. People call them like member berries because it's like, remember this? But Joseph Kosinski, if that's how you say his last name, I think he's so good at making this kind of a sequel. And the sequel was so good and ended on such an amazing, I don't know if cliffhanger, I think it's a satisfying ending that you can kind of fill in yourself. Kind of like the Truman Show, where I would like to see what happens after the Truman Show. I would like to see what happens after this movie, but I'm good with it standing alone, which is why I'm very nervous and skeptical for Tron Ares. Okay, we have arrived at the first part of how to enter to win this extra copy that I have. So I would like you to answer in the comments, do you think Tron Legacy is a good sequel to the original Tron, and why or why not? Also, how do you think Tron Ares is going to be? So answer those in the comments, and listen, later in the video we're going to talk about how to complete your entry to win. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit of work, so it's not for the faint of heart, but you can do it. All right, here's some young Jeff Bridges face with old sounding voice. and sitting in such a weird way to shadow his face. And next to a real little kid, he very much looks like a character from Polar Express. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for. I still think it looks awkward. I can totally get through it. It does not affect the movie for me, but it looks like a Polar Express character. Now, I went back and forth between the Blu-ray and this, and honestly, it still just looks the same. I'll put the Blu-ray on right now so you can just see it. I know we're losing information through the phone and it's not a scientific test, but just as like a quick look. So here's the Blu-ray.
And then, one day, something happened.
Okay, let's look at that other shot.
We're always on the same team.
I don't know, what do you think? Can you tell a difference at all with that? To me, it looks the same. So we have the son of Dillinger here.
Relax.
The main bad guy from the last movie, played by this little Murphy. Again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, you should go watch it and then come back and talk to me here. But they don't really go anywhere with this other than this quick intro right here. So it's almost like this whole movie was just, I think it stands on its own, but it really was building towards more movies and more mythology. And this is another reason why I'm nervous for Tron Ares. I just don't think that it's going to take the story threads in this movie and do anything with them. And that just makes me sad and nervous. So a quick note on just how this movie looks. I think once they get into the grid, which is inside the computer place, I think it looks amazing and is awesome. But I just think the real world photography on here, got some Journey music. The song is so good to run to, by the way. But I think the footage of the real world just does not look great, honestly. The 4K does look better than the Blu-ray in just the, like, it's like everything's just a little bit more solid and clear. And then, of course, the Dolby Vision, the colors stand out better. But as far as like other 4Ks go, this, like, I was much more impressed with the 4K image of the first Tron movie on 4K than with Tron Legacy. With Tron Legacy, the HDR is mind-blowing, and I'm going to show you some of those scenes. But the real-world scenes do not look that great. I love how the jukebox music is just getting fainter and fainter as he's basically going full Indiana Jones mode here. And I think this is the perfect ending. The song ends right as the arcade goes back into place. And that's one thing actually that I love about this movie is the whole movie is like a music video, especially when you get into the grid world. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. I love this right here. Did you ever notice this? That when it shows the tabletop computer, which is kind of a cool callback to the first Tron where the bad guy had the tabletop, like where the screen is in the computer. Did you see that timer going? That is how long his dad has been in there. Maybe that's super obvious to everybody, but I just think this movie has such an amazing attention to detail just like that little timer. He's been in there for 20 years. Now, when he gets himself blasted into the grid by putting himself in front of the laser and pushing aperture clear yes, like, does he know that that's how you get in there? Like, did his dad tell him that he got zapped with a laser and went in there? Because it seemed like he was just like, yeah, whatever, I'll push this button. But this movie, the image and like the visual stunningness of this movie and this 4K really just take off right here when he enters the grid, and the sound as well. Amazing. And the music, the Daft Punk music really just picks up. And it's so cool just having like grown up with this movie, seeing just like the little like super low resolutions of these ships. Now seeing all the cool Tron stuff that I grew up with, now just in like awesome detail.
Oh man, this is happening.
Speaking of this whole thing being like a music video, Right here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Even in just like slow parts, this movie just has such a cool vibe, like very Daft Punk, right? Like house music. So the slow parts, the fast parts, it's just it's like Fantasia, where it's just picture and sound together and you can just sit and stare at it and be in awe. And the 4K is the absolute way to do it. Okay, so quick plug for one of my other favorite movies with Daft Punk that is like a music video. I mean, the whole thing is a music video. But Tron Legacy, I feel like, is a continuation of this movie, and that is called Interstellar 5555. You have to let me know if you've ever seen this. And then on my hard drive, you can see that I named my Windows hard drive Master Control Program. I did that before it was cool. So this is Interstellar 5555, and it has such perfect sequence of picture and sound together. It is like a house music, rock, sci-fi, epic Fantasia. I can't show too much of that because YouTube will get me, but if you haven't seen it, watch it. This movie lives off of that perfectly. So I'm not quite sure why this particular scene struck me so much visually on the 4K, but it's kind of when you first see Clue sitting. So Sam has been put into the games, and now you see Clue sitting and watching, and I don't know if it's just all this blue and then suddenly you just see these deep, bright oranges, but it like blew me away, the Dolby Vision right here. And when you look at the Blu-ray side by side with this, like there's a huge difference. And that is where like my ultimate verdict on if it's worth it as an upgrade is absolutely yes for the Dolby Vision and the Atmos. Now, while we're on the subject of the Dolby Atmos, I would say there's a little bit of Master and Commander going on here, where you have a very impressive DTS HD Master Audio track on the original Blu-ray. Now, the Atmos track on here, on the 4K, I would say is incredible and very full and very detailed. I would say the bass is just a touch lower, just a touch lower. There is deep, heavy basses, but in my unprofessional ears, I'd say it's just a touch lower. Not a problem. The Atmos is really good. Let me know what your opinion is on that. Some people were like, not going to buy Master and Commander because of the sound, or going to like take the sound off of the Blu-ray and put it onto the 4K like on a digital file. Unnecessary on Master and Commander and on this. So look at Clue right here. And again, this is an unscientific cell phone captured, but just how he looks is stunning.
I won! Now let me out!
Just sitting on this couch here.
Unusual activity on the grid. Security sweeps and patrols have been intensified.
Right there.
Fire on schedule. Where initiative should.
I just think it looks amazing. Look at that.
Be operational within 12 cycles.
Here's how the 4K the disc looks, by the way. I keep pulling it out and switching it. Here's that same shot on the Blu-ray.
Security sweeps and patrols have been
Again,
intensified. Rectifier on schedule.
don't know if it translates through the phone, but this part right here in particular, I was just like, wow, that looks great. It's so vibrant and so like, this movie is so much eye candy. Here is Sam finding out that this is not his dad. And here is just a shot on the 4K
Not your father, Sam.
of our Polar Express Jeff Bridges. I absolutely love this part, and this is just a perfect example of this being a great sequel with little subtle and not so subtle callbacks to the original. So the original had some Star Wars influence and reference, but this is just a straight up Star Wars reference, and I love it so much. So he gives him the light cycle stick thing.
What's this? What do I do with this?
Look how he's holding it.
Not that.
It's like perfect lightsaber reference. So one thing I really like about this movie as well, and the character of Sam Flynn, is that he's kind of like an action hero. And in the real world, they established him as that. He's jumping off of the building, he's very athletic, and he's also really good on a motorcycle. And so when they put him on a light cycle, it's kind of cool because you're putting him in his element. And I think you can see that right here in how he steers. Did you see that? Okay, right there. So he kind of leans away the opposite way that he was going to go and then pulls it back to get a better turn. So he very quickly got a hang of the multi-level thing, and then you can just see that he can handle himself on a two-wheeled vehicle. So like I said, I like that the early part of the movie sets that up so that he can kind of be an action star in the grid. All right, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you will know that I am an aggressive shipper. There are people in movies and I am like, they need to get married and have babies. Like Ripley and Higgins in Aliens, like Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn and Robin Holiday. And now these two in this movie. And this scene is where she's just rescued him from the grid, from the motorcycle race. And I love the looks they steal at each other right here. And again, I am an aggressive shipper, so just be warned. But her character, and if not her character, the concept of her character is so interesting. And it's one of the most interesting things in many sci-fi movies. And I mean, out of many sci-fi movies, her character and the concept of her character being an ISO, right? Something that came to being inside of the grid, and that Flynn mentioned can change everything in the real world, right? Later in the movie. But as far as shipping goes, and this scene, my favorite part during this drive is the looks they steal at each other. So check out how Sam looks at her right after she takes her helmet off. Look at that gaze. Goes for a little bit long, and then she sneaks one in a little bit later. I love this right here. She full on checks him out. I love this part. Seeing all these cool old tomes in this digital world. It's very Star Trek-ish, right? Like in Star Trek, they always like to have their old books. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky. Right? So that's one thing I love doing. Anywhere I go, I love looking at bookshelves. And honestly, Sam Flynn looking at books and like saying the author's names is another thing that just endears me to him, and I think builds his character as like a strong man, where he's also, so he's like an action man, he's also intellectual. But plug for Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, the Pavir and Volokhonsky translation. And this is one of my favorite jokes in the whole movie. It's just makes me laugh every time.
The selfless, about removing oneself from the equation.
Okay, before the joke though, Flynn is studying about the selfless, about removing oneself from the equation. That is total foreshadow for later in the movie. And I love it. I think this movie was crafted so carefully. And again, I'm going to say it over and over until I'm proven wrong, but this is another reason why I'm very nervous for Tron Ares, is I just feel like this movie is such an incredible sequel, and there's so much to it, and there's so much rewatchability. And here's her Jules Verne joke here.
Between you and me, Jules Verne is my favorite. Do you know Jules Verne?
Sure.
What's he like?
This place that they're eating in is so very much 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm not smart enough to know the kind of decoration of these like old school, like, I don't know, French chairs. I have no idea, but they're just like antique-y looking. You've got the glowing floor, a place that you could live many, many, many years in. And it is so 2001: Space Odyssey reference. I cannot imagine that that's not intentional. It just has to be. What do you think? I love this whole concept throughout this movie of Flynn talking about the ISOs, right? The people like Cora, Olivia Wilde's character, who came into being inside the grid. And he's talking about how
Hope to find in the system.
what a profound
Order, perfection, none of it meant
thing
a
it
thing.
is.
Been living in a hall of mirrors. The ISOs
That's a cool pose.
shattered. The possibilities of their root code,
Right here.
digital DNA, disease, history,
Just like Star Trek.
science, philosophy, every idea man has ever had about the universe up for grabs. Biodigital jazz, man.
I love the phrase biodigital jazz, man. I think everybody should try to use that as much as they can in their lives. I think we'd all be better off. But so he lays the foundation here with the ISOs, and then he talks about what a big deal they are and that because of their digital DNA, it could change the world, right? Kind of very Star Trek, Utopia-like. And then later, when she's injured on the train, he mentions it again. So they're just leading up to the end of the movie with these little hints of her being in the real world. I love all these exposition flashbacks. These flashbacks almost make up a Tron 1.5 here. But this is where you see Flynn
Clue. I am Clue.
creating
You
Clue.
will create the perfect system. I will create the perfect system.
Which very much reminds me of AI now. And it's just funny how this movie was only 2010, but it was still forward thinking then. This is another scene that is, I showed this kind of at the beginning, but this is just such a cool example of the incredible how Dolby Vision looks in this show. There's also a pretty strong biblical reference right here by this guy. Listen to this.
The son of our maker!
Son of our maker. All right, so Cora has been injured and Flynn is fixing her because he is the old master. And speaking of which, I love when he shows up in the bar and he's so powerful. And that's one thing I think makes this a good sequel, is that you have the old master. Again, exactly the opposite of what we saw Luke do in The Last Jedi. We saw him do a little bit of cool master stuff, but for the most part, they just tossed him out, which was very upsetting. Anyway, Flynn right here is about to say a line that we've kind of been building throughout the movie, which is what it could mean if Cora was in the real world. So listen to this line here.
Everything I ever worked for. A digital frontier to reshape the human condition.
I always thought that was just a plug
Listen.
line.
In our world, she could change everything.
Okay, so in my opinion, when he says she can change everything, he's referring to what he referred to earlier when he said disease, science, religion, right? I think that's what he's referring to as everything. So the fact that the end of this movie, she actually in flesh and blood is in the real world about to change everything. And then, so one, amazing ending. You can just sit there and just think of all the cool ways it could end, which I think is such a good end of a movie where it just stays with you and you can just continue to think about it. But also, in addition to it being cool standalone, it definitely is setting itself up for more cool stories, which is, again, I'm beating a dead horse here, which is why I'm so skeptical about Tron Ares, because Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde are not in it. And so it's like, how can this be a sequel? How can this be in the Tron universe if we're not addressing this bombshell of basically Cora entering the real world and turning the real world into Star Trek world? All right, so speaking of Cora can change the world, do you know what can change your world? If you won this extra copy of Tron Legacy on 4K UHD Steelbook. So the other part of the entry to win, I already mentioned the first part earlier, is the following. And this may be familiar if you've entered to win other drawings of mine. You need to go and watch 3 of my other videos all the way through and leave an engaged comment on 3 of my other videos. Then come back to this video and leave a comment answering the questions I asked earlier, but then telling me the 3 videos that you went and watched and left a comment on. And that is you entering to win the drawing to win the 4K. I will do the drawing on October 15th, 2025. I will contact you in the comments and say that you won, and then we can email each other and I will mail it to you wherever you are on the planet. So I love reading your guys' engaged comments and your answers to these questions. So I'm really looking forward to this. I know it is a lot of work to do this giveaway, but guess what? That's an expensive movie. So you can do it if you want a chance to win. Now, as this movie started to wrap up,
I knew I'd beat you.
and the 2 parties get separated,
Hold it.
Sam and Cora on one side and Clue and Flynn on the other. My daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, was starting to see the writing on the wall in this scene. And she was in tears. She was weeping. And I don't know, it was very late at night. This is a long movie, but has been studying the art of the selfless, the art of removing oneself from the equation, right? So he sacrifices himself for the greater good, for his son, for Korra, and is happy to do it. Bye, kiddo. And I love how this ending subverts your expectations.
You were right.
He gets out of the grid, he shuts the program down, he puts it on a drive, whatever, right? And there's Alan, and he's leaving the arcade. It's like, oh, dang, he's alone. She was just a computer program. I wish she could have come with him. And then this right here. So you're like, this dude's alone. And what's next? Yes.
Supposed to change the world.
This is such a beautiful ending. It's actually kind of Blade Runner 1982. Was Blade Runner also 1982? It's like Blade Runner theatrical ending vibes here. I love this though. She's never seen a sunrise or sunset, and he's showing her, look how happy she is. And this snuggle just slays me with swooniness right here. Oh my goodness, that kills me. This is such a perfect ending, and again, just lays the groundwork for such an incredible world. Again, even if you just want to imagine it yourself, or just like hear writers of sequels, here is something awesome to work with. So I love this movie. This is one of my all-time favorites. This is was also, like the original Tron, top of my list of movies I wanted on 4K. And while it was filmed on 1080p digital video and is not the most impressive digital video capture as far as resolution goes, the HDR and just like the better compression in the Blu-ray and just the better depth of color is mind-blowing and completely worth it. And then the Atmos, like I said, is more full. But yeah, this is a major feel-good, fun, thoughtful, and just all-around good movie. It's family-friendly and it is so well made. So I think the first two Tron movies are masterpieces, honestly. And my daughter was really sad that his dad died or sacrificed himself. But he did it because he loved his son, and that is a theme of reality is and in lots of movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, I think 2. And then Pirates, one of the Pirates movies, 4 or 5. Anyway, it's a common theme in life and in general that a parent will sacrifice for their kids. And I'm sad when my daughter cries at a movie, but at the same time, I'm glad because it means she's engaging with it and she's thinking about it. And it means that we can talk about it. And especially in a movie like this, which I feel like is pretty harmless. They also cried. My 2 daughters also cried during Lilo and Stitch. So, I mean, anyway, let me know what you think of this. I love this movie and I would love to hear all of your thoughts. And good luck entering to win. And like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. So you got to watch through the whole thing to see the full requirement to win. October 15th, I'll do the drawing. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.